Uh, Welcome to Truth to the People. Hey, what's up? What's up? Minneapolis, Minnesota, the Brooklyns, Richfield, St. Paul, and anywhere you watching, all over on YouTube or wherever you watching that. Welcome to another episode, Truth to the People, having a conversation about what's going on in the community and particularly here in Minneapolis, where we continue to fight for justice, particularly for the African American community. ADOS, as I said, we got to say something because everybody makes up all their stats into what's happening to us, and they benefit a lot off of it, and we continue to fight for justice, and that's what we're doing. You know, we sitting in a state where they have a $9.2 billion surplus, and we should be able to get 100 million out of that to help with the problems that plague us in the ADOS community, whether it's with housing, education, employment, and particularly in public safety. And so we just continue to fight for it, fight for what's right, and watch as other people go over there using the ADOS name, and sometimes look like us and play like they fighting for us, and not really fighting for us. You know, and I'm really kind of teed off about how they doing it, and not being transparent of how they doing it. You know, I always talk about the Bush Foundation, when George Floyd got killed, said they was going to put $50 million into the African American community, 50 in the Native American community. But when organizations got together to say, hey, we want to try to make something happen in our community, big organization like the Urban League, like Summit Academy, like Sabathani Community Center, like Hallie Q. Brown in St. Paul Leadership Council, Phyllis Wheatley, all those organizations got together and took a plan, the Bush Foundation, and they told them it wasn't the right plan. They changed the tune and said they gave it to an organization called Nexus, probably 8 years old, and it's their way of controlling the ADOS community. They could never free us, so they turned around and gave it over there and said, no, y'all work through them and this cultural awareness. Then it turned to culture. When Floyd died, it was about African American. Once they got over that, then it became a cultural thing, and that's what these institutions do. Then they find people people like the Center for Economic Inclusion, Tawana Black over there, who was at North at work, and they just bounce around from one organization to another, creating things. And that's why we can't get nothing going here in Minnesota, because you get people to come from out of town and change the narrative. They change the narrative. Economic inclusion. They've been around but 3 or 4 years, but then they could pay a high price lobbying firm, a white lobbying firm, to play like that they are African American. They hire the big lobby firm. And we can't afford that, so we just got to keep fighting. But today I got a special guest on here, the national president for Summit OIC. So I'll try to get back to it, but I'm crying. They create organizations that ain't did nothing, and then start saying they deserve 10, $15 million. And I'm saying put that money where we know where it's at, and let the community, particularly the ADOS community. I don't know what it is with government that they really can't really let us go. And then when you have things like what Amy Bach and the East African community did with Feed Our Future, steal $245 million and buy mansions and houses with basketball hoops in them, and do all that off the kids, and the kids still hungry. And then, but that 245 million gone. How they gonna catch up with it? I don't know. But then once they do that, then they put a target on our back like we got it. If we had 245 million, we could make something happen. We need that, and they got 9.2 billion over at the state, and we just trying to see if we get a 100 million out of that. I know we ain't gonna get that, but if we get 50 to try to help the situations in our community, then that'll be good. Because it's all as my guest would say, it's all about the dollars. His favorite slogan, the best social service program is a job, and but he will say it's all about the dollar. But we're gonna have a conversation with the president of Summit OIC, Louis King, on a variety of subjects to see how can we get there. We're in a crisis in our community, but one thing he's been doing is putting people to work. He's been doing it over 25, 30 years, putting people to work, and now I think this is the opportunity for African American people to really get their footing on them. But we got to do it together, and it's going to be hard bringing them in, but we're going to try to bring them in. So first, I want to thank Louis for coming on the show. Thank you, Louis, and welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, Al.
Yeah, and Mr. King, I want to start off on a variety of subjects, but I can't talk about nothing until we get one thing right in our community, and that's on violence. That's the violence. We'll talk about jobs and education, but violence. If we don't get the violence under control within our community, that's seems like a top priority, and it's things happening that's unheard of. Me and you talked, and we talked about the robbery that they took the guy on 38th Street and robbing him and beating him and beating him, robbing, taking him around to the ATM machine. And then they had to stop and do some drugs, and one of them OD, one of the robbers OD in the midst while they was the crime. And then over the weekend downtown while the Final Four was there, 6 people shot on Saturday night going to and the game was that next day. When you see them kind of things, what comes to your mind when you see that kind of activity?
Well, I never, as you know, I never take anything in a vacuum. I always step back and look at the whole situation. And I would argue that it's easy to miss the progress that African Americans have made. And it's also easy to miss the actions that have brought about the conditions that force this type of behavior. Now, I'm a law and order guy. There must be order. We're not going to have the silliness on the streets. But when you follow the violence, you find the guns, and when you find the guns are there as a means of justice in the drug trade. And the drug trade is the primary trade of the community that doesn't own any businesses, houses, and even when the unemployment rate for whites is at 3%, the unemployment rate for African Americans is 6%. And mind you, at 7%, the economists call unemployment a recession. So you might argue that Black folks are in a constant state of recession. Now, you have to see this as the third chapter of the Black experience in this country. The first chapter was slavery, which was brought about by a labor shortage and greed. The second chapter was defined by Jim Crow and the Great Migration, which was another labor shortage when your people left the South and went to Chicago, and it birthed the Black middle class. And now we're in the third chapter of the Black experience, which instead of the Klan or chains, they have the police, and now they even have legislators who are trying to turn us back 50 years. And these people are even turning on themselves in the Republican Party. So when I look at it, when I was a soldier, they always said that the palace guard fights the hardest the closer you get to the palace because they know their head's going to be on a stick when it's over. So what we're seeing now is a residual of the economic apartheid, and the black folks in the community and I told you this, are having a Juneteenth moment. They don't know that they're free. They don't know that there's opportunity, and they're still behaving like slaves. And we got to go in there and bust that up and then teach them how to live and show them the way, and their children will follow the right way. If not, they're going to continue this madness, and we'll be stuck here for another 50 years.
And excuse me. And Luke, when we are talking about the crime, when we talking about the crime, how do we get out this cycle of violence that we in now? How do because some don't want to talk about it, we talk about it. How do we bridge that gap to because everybody know it's happening, but but everybody don't want to talk about it. We talk about it all the time.
Yeah. So one, there must be real opportunity, and that's something we didn't have before because the white community was practicing this silent segregation and discrimination, whether it was construction or white collar jobs, etc. They had a surplus of labor, so they didn't need us, and they invented these reasons not to hire us. But now the doors of the church are open. So what we have to do is one, have zero tolerance. All right. Whether you a woman, a child, a teenager, or a man, we're not having it. All right. That behavior is unacceptable. It does not define black folks. And you got to do something else. And they say, well, do what? This is all I know. Okay, we understand. So here's the deal. We'll make available education, training, and support. A lot of them have mental health issues, don't know it. They've seen so much violence, trauma. You look at the Ukraine, those people are going to be shook for years. Those children are going to have nightmares for years. So when you live in a war zone, has an impact on you. We understand. But not all people are the same. Some of the people out there are ready for an opportunity right now. You give it to them, they'll go. Others are not ready. You got to work with them. You got to get them a GED. You got to get them stable. You got to show them how to dress, how to look people in the eye, how to smile, quit mean mugging. But there's another group. There's another group, straight up criminals. And they need to go to jail, period, until they understand that in order to function with the rest of us, they got to learn how to behave and they got to leave that behind. I've had so many young men that I've worked with over the years come up to me and say, thank you for offering them a chance to get a life, a new life. And sometimes people do need to go away and reflect. Others, you know the story about Alvin Stone, son of a gangster. That's just the way they are. And we have to face it and deal with it. And sometimes they are females.
And Lord, you said you mentioned the word war zone. When you look at what we're going through, and some people said in the past years we done lost more people in our communities all over the country than they done lost in some of the Vietnam War, the Iraq War. So when you say war zone, is that what from your analysis? That's what we living in right now.
So white America has decided that black lives don't have any value. And when you look at the statistics, I had a debate with a guy. He says there's no such thing as black on black crime. He's misinformed, got his head in the sand. We have more violence in the black community per capita than some third world nations. You hear me? Our neighborhoods have more firefights and deaths than places that are known for violence that you just don't go to because we rival the cartels. All right. And when you look at the cartels, and I've studied this, You ask, how could that come about? It's Mexico has the 15th largest economy on the planet. Why is there such violence? Because the gap between the haves and the have-nots. And when you have men who feel desperate and feel that the only way to take care of their family is through illegal pursuits, then they'll do that. Some do it because they don't see another way out. Some do it because they enjoy it. It is in their blood. It's what they want to do. We're after those people who are looking for something else to do. And I think that just like we've overcome much more terrible things than this, because I always reflect on our ancestors. You know, think about being enslaved in the Underground Railroad when there was no GPS, no street lights, no roads. You got to run from the dogs and everything else. What they don't tell you is that those of us who were running the Underground Railroad before we left the plantation, we had to get past the house Negro and the field Negro, because the house Negro was confused about who he or she was. And then the field Negro didn't want you to go because the white man would look at him and say, you next, or you helped them. So you had to get past both of them first. So it's not, or the black folks that didn't go march and say they wasn't messing with them white people down there, right? Nevertheless, we are all free because Harriet Tubman only freed about 70 people, but she cast a very big shadow.
And now in today's world, when you're really trying to help, one of the biggest problems is the way they pit. When we still talk about public safety and disappointment, and you bring it out how you want to, but we had a big fight in the last election. We had a group of people saying that we didn't need law enforcement, and sometimes it looked like us. It was people that looked like us that saying we didn't need law enforcement. And when they said, when they made those words, abolish, dismantle, defund, I knew, you knew, oh, this is trouble here. I mean, right away we would know this is trouble. How come? How come other? How come the progressive or whatever they are? How come they didn't see what we see, Ms. King?
We had a congresswoman who voted against the infrastructure bill, which is the future of the thing that separates an industrialized nation from a third world nation like Somalia is infrastructure. And when your ideology allows you to vote against infrastructure, roads, power lines, sewers, schools, hospitals, dams, bridges, your ideology gets away from infrastructure, from the future of the economy. The way the economy works is through infrastructure. Then you're a threat to the society. That's the same thing with people who want to get rid of the police, or as I say, defund the police. It's kind of like children at the end of summer saying, burn down the school. You know, it's very sophomoric, as we would say, very irresponsible. And that is why they were defeated. I blame the adults of this community for this. We went to sleep at the wheel. We were asleep at the wheel, and we let these unqualified people get elected to these posts that have serious responsibilities, and they were unqualified with no experience and no moral compass. And so now, though, we in that election, we did demonstrate our power. We showed them which way was up, and we sent Philippe Cunningham home. And the only thing to say Jeremiah was his daddy. All right, that was it. Period. And for the rest of them, Steve Fletcher, they're gone. Now we got to use that same power to keep the momentum going and use the words "never again."
And when you say that we did win, we feel like we won, but and then and I understand the mayor thinking I can work with everybody. I'm going to work with everybody, but a lot of people that got out there, young people, young African Americans, a lot of them got out there, and they got out there because of Chief Arredondo. They wanted to support him. And then when we did win, it feels like we didn't win with some of the stuff the mayor doing, but he got a right to do. He has a right to do it. But what would you tell them people that was working hard and then kind of disappointed with some of the committees? We have to get over it. But what you tell them, because they really was hoping the chief stayed, and they was a lot of us hope the mayor would do things different. I'm used to politics. You got to suck it up sometimes. But what you tell them that was fighting that their victory was not in vain, even though it looks like we're not getting what we want right off the bat for fighting so hard.
There's another election coming.
Yeah.
There's another election coming. All right. And for those who don't like what I have to say, let's start from a factual basis or go to the scriptures they would say in church. The independent reports that came out after the George Floyd riots showed that our local government and our state government was inept in the management of that crisis. They were confused, they did not follow protocols, or did not know it. This is what happens when you've never been a leader and it's OJT. So you test the wind when you're making decisions to see which way it's blowing, and if it's favorable, then you go that way. Or you bring in people who all they do is walk around with the big coffee cups and their cell phones, and they worship you, but they give you bad advice and don't know what they're doing. You cannot hide these facts. They are real. Everybody sees them. The most you can do is say, I made a mistake. Bear with me, we're going forward. People might talk about Joe Biden, but he's a straight shooter, tells the truth. You know where the man stands. He might make a mistake, but you can trust him. And once you lost the people's trust, then you're in bad shape. If nobody has anything good to say about you and you're the leader, you need to check yourself. And if you can't take criticism, you need to resign.
And Louis, when you look at, I think about it on this subject, the last one on public safety. When I think about what happened, where all this started from, the violence, and we think about what happened to George Floyd. That as an activist, I'm watching every day. It's going the momentum for what happened, and for us to stand up and say what happened to George Floyd was so wrong. But we said that, but it's so many things that happened. People took advantage of it in a wrong way. Well, we didn't really benefit from it, and it's gonna go away. How do we keep that memory alive, and especially when things like we talked about at the beginning, when you got people driving people up in Floyd Square, robbing them, beating up somebody. Then that's not the image I would want to portray about what George Floyd lost his life with that knee on his neck, and I know his family. Nobody would want this to be happening. How do we not? I feel like we lost a lot of momentum because everybody grappled and took the charge and ran with the issue, but it didn't. I don't feel like it benefited us. What do you say on that subject about how do we keep that what happened there, because it'll go away. People are but they feel like they forget George Floyd right now.
So let's talk about two things. First, remember this: George Floyd lost his life over a fake $20 bill. All right. That was an act of desperation. He didn't take a gun and go rob anybody. He didn't stand out on the corner and sell drugs that day and get stopped by the police. He tried to pass a fake $20 bill. Now, what puts a man in that position to be that desperate? We have to look at the condition that he was in and so many other black folks. Thing one. Thing two, the police. The white people have always tried to control black people through terror, chains and whips and dogs and slave catchers, then lynch mobs, skinnings, burnings, lynching, and then the Ku Klux Klan. And then when all of that went out of fashion, they went and got the boys in blue and girls. And the pact between the white community and the police was, we will make laws at the state level that protect you, but you handle these people and don't let it get on our clothes. Well, at the moment that Derek Chauvin put his knee on his neck, that little girl pulled out that camera. We had a Birmingham moment. White America could not stand the brutality that it had brought upon this man and these people, and it had an awakening. So I don't think that we lost. I think that was a pivotal moment, and there are progress is being made, but it's like climbing a mountain. It's slow. Now, are there opportunists? Are there activists who only come out when there's a crisis and they do nothing else? They kind of like the fire department. They're just there until there's a fire. What you don't want them to become is arsonists, starting the fire so they can put it out. And I tell all of them, having a bullhorn in front of a crowd is not leadership. All you're doing is manipulating people and playing off their emotions, the emotions of the mob. But when all is over and the community is burned and the people are hurt, what do we have? Sometimes it is necessary. The politics of the mob in political science is when people believe that their political voice will not be heard and they have no power. And at that moment, people felt that they had no power. So the opportunists came out. And all we can do, rather than turning to fight them, is overshadow them with the truth and results. When you put people to work, when they got enough money in their pockets, they're not out there in that foolishness. Period.
That, well, I'm one of them that just trying to figure it out. How do we keep how do we keep that alive? Like you said, George Floyd, you said it the right way. The man didn't go trying to stick nobody up. He didn't do nothing. He had a fake $20 bill, lost his life, and then there was a big uproar. They burned a lot of stuff down, and and uh, and now we see murder and we after George Floyd death we done seen hundreds of people get killed that look like us. And so I don't know how we won. And even that we were dying, they still were saying we don't need law enforcement, but it wasn't. It just take a few of us to get over there and be on the wrong side, right?
Don't get distracted by the noise on the flanks. If you turn and look at the flank, look at the target I just gave you to hit, right? Okay, and you know me, man, I just stay dead ahead on it, right? We shall overcome. Whether they're Uncle Toms, whether they are just sellouts, whether they are just greedy opportunists, whether they're racist, no matter what, the track record shows you can't beat black folks. Look at where we started from and where we are today, my man. I mean, you got to bet on us, all right?
Yeah.
Because they invented God put guys like you and I on the planet. We approach it from different ways, but when we come together, man, we're a mighty force, and people believe in us because we do what we say we're going to do. I've been around for 25 years. I am well defined. I can't say I'm finna, I'm about to, this, that, and the third. Everybody knows what I do and how well I do it. I've been with you in restaurants with little old white ladies in grocery stores come up to you, admiring you because you speak the truth. You and I used couldn't stand each other. You walk in the room, I get my head and coat, time to go.
Yeah.
But I respect what you do, and we got this stick to itness that opportunists don't. And even if they do, Al, some of the names you were calling earlier, I agree with you about them. Straight fake. But you know what? In the end of the game, it won't matter, my brother. We'll roll on them like the Crimson Tide.
And when you said something when you think about Lewis what we are going through and when people you said it correctly they may be Toms and things like that when we're fighting for justice for our people we talking about blacks killing blacks and we're not just saying oh get rid of the police then they would consider it's hard, but they consider those people that saying no, we need law enforcement. If you black, they saying calling you sellout, Uncle Tom, and things like that. What do the people that's right? We know they right, but what do you say to them that when they get called that? Because a lot of people get called that they won't do it to me because they know I'm right there, and because they don't want to hear my truth. They don't
Yeah,
want to hear
right.
my
Do,
truth.
do you recall Chris Rock's reaction to Will Smith?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the answer, Doc. All right. You
yeah.
keep on keeping on. Keep on keeping on. All right. And give them the gift that keeps on giving consequences. The next day, Will Smith, for that single act, that single moment, now they're pulling back on movies. He had to resign from the Oscars, all of that stuff. I look at those people and I know they're wrong, but I can't spend any energy on them because the energy I spend on them is energy I need to direct towards ensuring my people have what they have, and that I'm dealing with breaking down this economic apartheid. All right, the police and the rest of that is a sideshow. The real show is happening right down in the bank, my brother. Right down there to get a loan to buy some property. Now, black folks are finally buying Broadway. People buying, black people we know buying lots and buildings in North Minneapolis in a way that's unprecedented. We've never seen it before. So if we're opening the doors for them by bringing in noise and bringing the heat, that's a good thing. But for all those other people, you know, when we was breaking away from the plantation, or when we were going north and leaving Mississippi and Alabama in the Great Migration, there was lots of people who said, "Don't go. You know, there's nothing there for you." They were afraid, and we cannot let fear drive us. We have to drive the bus.
And last a question on there. I know we still got one case lingering out there, and that's Amir Locke, and the Attorney General is working on that. I think it's going to come back no bill because that a gun was involved there, and I mean it was there. And how do we deal with, because people going to be upset one way or the other whenever the decision comes out there, and and if you remember, they end up arresting two family members. They went to jail about a murder in St. Paul, and then when they come back with a verdict, which I think Attorney General gonna say he ain't nothing he can do. What would you tell our people? Because the progressive they're gonna use anything they can to stir this pot.
I find, first of all, you and I both know I don't deal with the police. I find it distasteful. I love Charlie Adams and some others, but those matters are not my matters because I feel that the police are an extension of the oppression that used to be out there against black people, and it's a sideshow. All right. So I don't get all caught up in the case law. It is what it is. Some days the bad guys win, some days the good guys win, and the cheerleaders cheer for both sides, and the parade goes on. What do I mean for that? By that, in the scheme of things, it's not going to change anything, Doc. The mayor said that, you know, the whole no knock thing, people got casual about it, then had to come back and apologize. The police now are taking a beating. So I would argue that everything that we can do to get them in line, we should do it. But we can't win them all. And I'm not going to get caught up with the progressives and the rest of that because they'll go home to their middle class lives and leave the poor people there no better off than they were before all the mess started.
Wow, and that's the way to put it, and that's what I'll say. We don't know what's going to happen. I'm just looking for some justice for the people that can't fight for themselves.
Yeah,
And, and and
just don't tear up our neighborhoods, all right? Just, you know, get excited about old ladies getting mugged on the streets and little children getting shot. Get excited about that too. If you want to get excited about the police, that's fine. But why you quiet when the little baby gets killed? Why you quiet when a 70-something-year-old woman gets mugged? Why you quiet when we can't go downtown to a restaurant without worried about getting carjacked. Where you at? I mean, you got to be the same way all the time. Keep it 100, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll say that. And then one of the next just talking about we went through all the George Floyd things, and in the midst of that we went through the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, Lewis, and one of the biggest things that disappoint me is what's happening to our kids in education, and they lost a lot of education, and you about that education too, former school board member of Minneapolis Public School. When you we lost a lot with COVID. Talk about that and the damage that can do long term. That was 2 years of kids in and out of school playing like they was on their iPads. I know I had the kids over here, and then I'll forget and the kid sleeping 10, 11 o'clock before I realize, hey, you supposed to be at school. So I know I'm not the only one. It's a lot of people that their kids lost a lot of education over these past 2 years, Louis.
So let me make sure everybody understands what's on the table. Education is the primary means by which wealth is redistributed. What do I mean by that? If you get an education, you can grow up and become prosperous. All right. If you don't get an education, someone will prosper off you. There'll be a nonprofit like Lutheran Social Services and Catholic Charities, $120 million organizations making money off your back. The DA, the public defender, the police, the social workers, everybody making money off your back. So in a sense, poorly educated people are doomed, and basically they become just food for the machine, for somebody else to consume, much to make money off of, much like a slave. All right. So here is an example that I want the MFT and all the so-called teachers out there to listen to. I heard a story today where the Ukrainian teachers were still teaching while the bombs were falling. They were still teaching the children while being attacked by the Russians. And you going on strike after our kids been on the streets for 2 years. I have no respect for you as a professional. Ed Graff should have been fired, period. He left in shame. It was as if he was never here. But I also say, since when has it been anyone else's responsibility to educate our children? Black folks do have to take responsibility. I give the Somalis credit for one thing, dog. Now you got to deal with them, but at the same time, they have latched on to the education system, which was not available in Somalia. Women couldn't even get educated. And yet they come here, and now African Americans been bred to say that getting an education, selling out, and acting white. So I would argue back. Well, wait a minute, black folks are ignorant? Is it, being black is to act ignorant, to be uneducated, to be illiterate? So I have always been against the teachers union. When I was on the school board, I discovered we spent more time on personnel issues than we did educating children, which is why we have such a major charter movement. And I encourage all black people to pull your kids out of Minneapolis public schools and put them in a private school, charter school, school them at home, put them in another district. The only way we're going to break these people is to deny them market share.
And that's some of the state, national president of Summer Academy OIC. I'm not advocating to pull them out like that. I'm advocating how do we fix it, and because
they have a monopoly. Al, you can't break a monopoly. The only thing they only see those children as a dollar sign. Listen to what they were talking about: class size really is about hiring more teachers so the union can be stronger and have more members. The only way they understand is if they're teaching to themselves. They will have you negotiating to the end of time and they will not change. The other thing that we can do is take responsibility ourselves for educating our children. So it's a two-pronged attack. But you're naive if you believe you're ever going to get anywhere with these people. That's not going to happen. Since 1996, no one has made progress with the teachers union. Period.
And what and I we that's a whole nother show we'll do just on education
Let's
because
go.
I got issues up and and I was absolutely I'm a union supporter, but when they what they did in this last election, getting involved with saying we don't need the police and stuff like that, that really tore. But I never
I'm from
attacked
a
the
union
teachers.
family.
You,
First man to go to college. Everybody in my family was a teamster. My grandmother was a custodian. My mother was in a union. All right, she worked in a glass plant at Tropicana. I'm there, but educators, preachers, and doctors, you have a higher calling. You have a higher calling. And these people have figured out a hustle, all right, and I'm talking about the union now, not the rank and file. They figured out a hustle. The politicians, they'll spend money on the politicians who know that they're wrong, but they want to be reelected, and that's another show, and won't stand up for black folks. And some of those politicians look like us.
and Louis, but when you talk about that, because I don't want to let this go by without coming back a little bit. My concern about when we talk about public and charter is about what happens to the kids when you get to some of those private schools. Now it can I ain't talking about like a Harvest Prep or Sojourner Truth that's culturally sensitive to our needs in school, but when you get to some of those private schools and and you can't survive in that environment, then when they put you out, you back in the public schools anyway, and the public schools have to accept well whatever comes to them. What you say to that?
I think some of our people are off the chain, and they come to the people going to private schools, put their kids in private schools, tend to be looking for. See, all black people are not the same. Let's go there. All right, don't put us all in the same category. All poor black people are not the same. Some poor black people are really trying to get ahead in life and looking for an opportunity to take care of their families. Others out there thugging and drugging, they're lost, right? So we got to be able to, you don't just go with one broad sweep on them. You got to be able to look at the situation and say, okay, what do we have here and what's going on, and apply the solution. So let's stop and look at that. My good friend Eric Mahmoud runs Harvest Academy. I was on the board for years. I put my baby in there. Some of the things we saw out of parents, implorable. You look at it, you go, so no wonder the baby like that. All right. Then you got those who get their kids in the private school. They tend to be more stable. But again, those are the extremes. In the middle are people just trying to figure things out. So I say this: if me and you run a restaurant, we can have good food and bad service, but people are waiting for the food. You can have bad food but good service. Everybody like you. You come around joking and laughing. People will come to you. You cannot have bad food and bad service and expect to keep your business open. Minneapolis public schools, which is why they're down to about 35,000 kids and losing more every day because we are free now. We're not slaves. We can go to other places. And even if those other places are not any better, the thing that we say is at least you're not getting our money.
And so when people say Lewis talk about this is why some of our kids ain't surviving because of poverty because of this, you talk about some of the issues that we face in the community, but you can be in poverty. I mean, you didn't go, you started out in a project. I'm a project baby, or Robert Taylor project
Rogers
baby
Projects, Rogers
yeah,
Project.
yeah, with a single mother
Yeah.
raising trying to raise me a young boy, and I was bad.
You
But you
still
can
bad.
huh?
You still bad.
Hey, no, but you can still you can still it's we got out of that. It's all about what you are doing, what's instilled in you to make you survive anything. So you think the poverty excuse, giving people excuse, because that's what people, when they go over to get money from the legislature, when they talk about out of 9.2
Yeah.
billion, they want money to and it's because we in poverty, and then that poverty money don't produce none like what you do at Summit. You producing jobs, but a lot of people get millions of dollars to say they doing something for us because we in poverty, and those people can't fight. They can't fight it.
So again, let me set a broader context, right? You and I grew up in a time with the Temptations, when men wore shine shoes, neckties. You look at Martin Luther King and the Temptations; they were always clean. Now we got 50 Cent. The boys got hair, look like the alien, the predator. They look like the predator. All right. They look scary. Pop culture, the gangsterism, the thug mentality has permeated the black community. We used to have mothers and fathers. Now we have baby mama and baby daddy. So our entire culture has been turned upside down. They took away our music and redefined us as these town clowns that behave in this way. And so they can see you coming down the street and identify you. All right. So that's the first thing. And then people bought into that culture, and that's who they became. And then they're acting it out every day. The poor people of today are not the same poor people that were growing up with us in the projects. We didn't have machine guns in the projects. They might smoke a little weed. Nobody had crack cocaine. All right. You had the Errol Flynn's, maybe the Disciples and a few gangs. All this now, though,
Yeah.
and the truth about it, when you step back and look at the macro situation, we don't have any of the power to bring the money in, to bring the guns in, to bring the drugs in. The truth is, we know what's going on here. And what they did was put it all in a box, say, keep the drugs, the crime, and the guns over here, turn the police over, put all these over it, put all these social service programs out there telling these lies, which the big ones are all run by white folks, um, is the truth. The African Americans, you could take all of the African Americans organizations in the Twin Cities, put them together, and they do not equal the budget of Lutheran Social Services
Wow, wow, and it ain't helping us.
at all.
It ain't helping us at
They
all.
get to put their kids through college. They get to have their cabins up north. They get to go away on their vacations. They get to do all those things on the backs of black folks. Is no different than the plantation. None.
Wow. And what one thing, Louis, let's talk about the national OIC and the agenda for the national, and kind of first talk about summit. You still CEO there, but you working in that field. Now you the national president. Talk about why it was the right time to continue to support Summit and go on this national level with OIC, and kind of tell the people what that is.
So I came here in 1989 as a soldier on a 3-year tour. Clearly, I angered my branch manager because 33 years later, I'm still here. But I discovered the plight of black folks when I came here. I saw all the nonprofits. I didn't know what a nonprofit was. I said, oh, these people need to work. So Harry Davis eventually got me to come over, do a merger lead, TCOIC. They used to turn my phones off, Al. They used to turn my phones off. I didn't have dial tone because we couldn't pay the bills. Today, it's a $15 million organization with 15 million in assets. We get people jobs in 20 weeks with no out-of-pocket costs, paying up to $60,000 a year starting wages. We helped build all 3 stadiums. I took construction because you can't take the infrastructure with you. We beat down the unions, got our people in there, and now we got people who've been in the field for 20 plus years. The school is built. We now have cybersecurity, app development, help desk. We're coming with financial services. And we moved into the RAC, the Richard Allen Copeland building over there in Plymouth and Penn, and got a lease there to still make it vibrant in the community. God then tapped me on the shoulder and said, now is the time. With the pandemic, the tech explosion, and George Floyd, we now have this moment where America is ready to put people to work. They're again at a person, they're short labor. They need us. Problem is, they undereducated us and isolated us. And so we're not always prepared for the fight. So my plan is to launch the Leon Sullivan training network, and it'll be a virtual network and find forgotten people in forgotten places. You can now work from home. Look at us. We're not in studio.
Yeah.
2 years ago, you wasn't doing this. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I could be in China right now, right? And
Right.
we could be having school right now, or church right now, or we could be working for Wells Fargo, just like this. And if you're sitting in Monroe, Louisiana, or Biloxi, Mississippi, in one of them little small towns, and all you can think about is how do I grow up and get out of here? You don't have to leave because the OIC is coming to town, and we're going to help you tap into this opportunity the same way our ancestors did it 100 years ago as this country moved away from agrarian to manufacturing. They wouldn't let you be a blacksmith. So you left Mississippi, went north and started working in the car factory and let them run around with their horses. When last time you saw a horse, right? I mean, it was all about cars. So I think this is an opportune moment. I just got back from Omaha, Nebraska, talking to the people over there. I'm going to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, DC, Connecticut, and people are hungry for it. Everybody's looking for the same thing: stability, opportunity, and prosperity.
And Louis, you said something about I ain't gonna let this segment go by without talk about the RAC building and some that Richard Copeland and Robbie Norman and them brought, no matter how, and they kept it in the community. They went through a lot. Richard Copeland went through a lot. Over the last week, Thursday, we went to the memorial of Richard, and then you had another get together at your place at the building over on Plymouth and Penn on Saturday, and talk about Richard Copeland and why you was one of the big supporters of making sure that his legacy stayed alive, and y'all kind of named that build. Y'all did a lot of stuff. Talk about Richard Copeland, Lou,
Sure.
when you got here.
So when I decided I was going to put black people in the construction, the politicians ran away from it, and the white unions looked at me like I was crazy, and the business owners didn't know what to make of me. Richard stood with me, and he stood up for me. He made sure that I got opportunity. One time when things wasn't going right, I asked him what to do. He gave me advice, and I did it, and it worked. It worked, okay? And from that moment on, I wasn't playing with these people. And so we were on projects with them ranging from the Twin Stadium to TCF Stadium to the US Bank Stadium. Every time I could count on Richard. That glint in his eye, that smile, man, but he could get tough in a minute and he would stand with you. Even when I launched Lola's over at the lake, he put money into that. So he was always there for me like a big brother, an uncle, a role model. And I admired him because he grew up right there in Sumner Olson in that neighborhood. And then when he was a millionaire, came back to the redevelopment and stayed there. He didn't leave town. He didn't turn his back on his people. He took risks for his people and he stood tall. And many people are better off. Some of them don't even know his name, but they're better off because Richard Copeland lived, and I'm better off because he lived. And I'm always going to honor his legacy and remind people that it's not what you do for yourself that matters. It's about what you do for others. And he was the epitome of that parable.
Wow, and the epitome, and was in construction, and we should never. I say that because I watch Lewis, as you know. I know tomorrow at the park board. The park board is talking about closing the golf course at Hiawatha and making it a dog park. And it's a historic site because the first black golfers didn't go there till they said 1948 or something, way before we was born. And you couldn't. And they said you could go play golf, but you couldn't go into the clubhouse. I think that's what they call it. I ain't no golfer. I ain't been a golfer, but for a person like me, the historic site like the Phyllis Wheatley or these organizations that was the first place black athletes can go, and then something like Hiawatha was the first place you could play golf. You play golf.
So let me tell you this, right? All the people on that park board call themselves liberals, Democrats. There are no plaid pant wearing Republicans on that park board. These are all people who will call themselves progressives. And they will want us to stand with them on progressive causes. But when we have a cause, then they find other reasons and best uses. And so they show their true colors. They're elitists. Even when they're poor as a church mouse, they still consider themselves better than us. And they show it like this. Well, if it floods as a golf course, it's going to flood as a doggy park. And I mean, come on, man. Walk your dog, pick it up, take them home. This is something that people, they say, well, why aren't there more black folks playing golf? Well, we can't afford the green fees. Well, why can't you? Because you took all the money. So now here's a municipal course, the only one in the city that you don't have to drive outside the city limits. Your tax dollars support it right here, but you don't have a golf course to go to. I don't think that's justice. And I think you got to call them out. And you got to go get the activists and put intense pressure on them and embarrass them in public. And if necessary, shut them down.
And that's at 5 o'clock at the Park and Rec tomorrow. Go speak your piece in his. And I really mean this about the historic sites. Last time they was going to do that at King Park, and they for some reason it's always the dog. They don't want to change it for nothing else. They just said we want to make a dog park, and that just seems funny to me. But let's go at this. I wanna you want to say something?
I have a dog. I love my dog very much. Okay,
Yeah,
I love my dog very much. I really, really, really do. And I never want to have to put anybody up against my dog. That being said, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is what's guaranteed in the Bill of Rights for all men. It said all men are created equal. And for those who want to golf, they should be able to golf on a municipal course right here in the city limits where they pay property taxes and where we all get to work and play. And anyone who doesn't support that is a hypocrite, should be voted out of office.
And I'm with you. 5 o'clock p.m. at the Park and Rec. Let's say no to getting rid of something that's historic, and that you could bring somebody to and say, "Hey, you remember we couldn't go into that clubhouse. We couldn't do different things." So it means something to even if you don't play golf, it means something. And I want to go to Lewis. The one thing we talk about: take back our city. Take back our city in Minneapolis, and it's about stopping the violence and giving opportunity. Talk about why we gotta take back our city and how can we?
We used to have a saying called "Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud." All right, and we got away from being proud and defining ourselves. We let entertainers and entertainment and athletes define who we are. We have to define what is behavior, acceptable behavior. You had this thing, CSR, the Community
Yes.
Standards Initiative, right? That
Yeah.
is the most appropriate thing I've ever heard. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. Be polite, smile, conduct yourself like a civilized human being. And if nobody ever taught you, we will teach you. But one thing we're not going to do, A, we're not going to be scared of you. All right? We're not going to be scared. And number two, we're not going to stand by and watch while you beat up old ladies and go in the store and steal and you make it bad for everybody and everybody got to be scared. You got to go. And point blank like this. If I can be driving down the street and get hit by a stray bullet, you got me. If I can be driving down the street and you come out, jack my car and hit me in the head with a pistol and do all that, you got me. So you might as well get me while I'm fighting back. I might as well be like the Ukrainians and say, bring it. Let's go. What you got? And so we're going to team up with the police, the rich white people, everybody, and we're going to deal with you and your mama and your girlfriend and your baby mama and everybody else. We're not having it. We will be able to walk the streets of this town. And the same way we take on white folks, we're going to take on the thugs and the drugs, point blank.
And when we do that, because now, like you said, this is our opportunity to change the narrative. Right
Absolutely.
now, it's our
Right
time
now.
to change the narrative. Just when you look at it, and I'm gonna say all these though, because you know it's true. We're last in everything. We're last in everything. I wish it wasn't true,
By
but we're last.
design, Al, by design. Now, it ain't like we wake up trying to be last.
Yeah, absolutely. And but look, we last in everything, but everybody uses our stats to I mean every community. The Lutheran Social Service couldn't get their the funding until they was what you said to build that organization up. Then when they got them, I ain't gonna never forget. They once the East African community came in, they said we're gonna deal with that now. We through with dealing with y'all. We always get kicked out everywhere after the ADOS people. You can say it how you want to. We get kicked out, and they just use the new immigrants or whatever. But we last in everything. How we gonna get out of last place, Lo?
Look at the Ukrainians. You fight. You fight. You don't care if they got a Navy and an Air Force and you don't have one, you fight them. You get the old ladies to make the Molotov cocktails. You put the women and children on buses and trains and get them out of town. You hire people in the subways. You wear the same clothes for 30 days, same underwear for 30 days. You do whatever you have to do until you can do what you want to do. We are on a majestic journey in this country. Our story is a proud one, where our lifetime, yours and mine, is just a blip on the screen. It's just a blip. We're just here for a short period of time. But when we look back over what our people went through and where they come from, we have no choice in the matter but to stand our ground and to fight our fight in this sandbox. We're the battle captains here. People count on us to say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done. And then we become inspirations for others who thought that they were going to be on the sideline. And before you know it, you're no longer standing alone. Others are standing with you. And then that's how we make progress, Al. Just keep doing what you're doing.
And what would you say? You've been watching some of the young people. You've been watching some of the young people that's been fighting Al Jr. and them. They know you. You like Uncle Luda. Them. What you tell to them? Say something to them young activists that that want to see something different and just tired of it, but trying to do it the right way. How do they keep that energy to fight for something we've been fighting for 25, 30 years?
They're new to the game. Develop stamina. Learn your skills to practice the craft. If you're going to be in this game, you can't fake it, all right? Because people know when you're real and when you're not real. Never make a promise you cannot keep. Never quit. and always, and don't sell out, man. Listen, if you want to be rich, go ahead on and be rich. Go get a business, run that. Focus on what's important: family, education, work, stability, community, God. All right, and put God first. And if you do those things, it's going to be all right. I didn't say it was going to be easy. It's not microwavable, and it's not quick bake, and it's not instant coffee. It's going to be a hard road. So pack a towel, you're going to sweat. But in the end, we shall overcome.
And Luke, on the last one, the question, $9.2 billion surplus. What you said it's always about the dollar. You say it's
Always,
always about the dollar. Nine
always.
point two billion dollars. You're in the field. You out there playing in it. The make sure things happen right for employment. What is 9.2 billion in surplus dollars? How come we having such a hard time saying 100 million, or how come we having a hard time getting that, and then we end up scrapping with each other to get what we know we need?
Remember this, all right, that in this country, for 400 years, our people went to work every day. They didn't miss one day of work. Not one day, all right? They had no unions, they had nothing. They went to work every day to put money in somebody else's pocket. And then one day they were free. And they said, free to do what? Starve? In this country, it's all built on greed. What's your fair share, Negro? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The only thing you will get is what you fight for. And we're going to make you fight for every penny, every minute, every day. That is all. So the 9.2 billion, I knew to play when it came on the streets. The liberals want to pay for dog parks. The Republicans want to give tax breaks. Well, if you poor and you trying to make it, so what? So what? And then you got those who go over there who will say what needs to be said. They got to spend something. So they'll give it to things that go nowhere and you can't measure it. And they stand up and make a good speech or whatever the case may be. Everybody feel good like they went to church on Sunday, but we don't move. All of that is a sideshow. Before the 9.2 billion came, we were fighting for freedom. And when it goes, we will still be fighting for freedom. That is all.
And I thank you, brother Louis King. He's the national president for Summit OIC. And just one quick one, Louis, because I was hoping I kept you until you got thirsty, because I know when my voice lost early in the show, you wanted to laugh. He wanted to laugh, and he
Look at him. Look at him over there. Look at him.
no, I lost it because I'm listening. I'm not used to talking and then let somebody talk, but this been good. So but the last one about taking back our city, and if you do the right thing, what we talking about, we want to open up opportunity. You had a signal, the take back our city, when we had the event at the YMCA, and you said if you do that, if you do this the right way, then let's stop the violence together. We're gonna try to make it. People like yourself gonna try to make it prosperous for the community, for the people.
Stability, opportunity, prosperity. You must have a place to live, a place to work. You must believe that you have a shot. You can't operate out of desperation. What we see on the streets, people feel desperate. I understand. My heart goes out to you. But if you follow our lead, if you just trust us, if you just walk with us here, if you just give us a chance, you will prosper. If you don't, somebody will prosper for you.
Wow, wow, that's what a way to end that. Way to end that. Hey, I thank you again. I'll say the national president of OIC, Mr. Louis King, President, CEO of the National, and still making sure that summit stays in place. And Leroy over there, that summit, he's going to do an outstanding job.
Let's go tear them up out. They're waiting on us. All right.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Louis. And we'll talk again. Appreciate
Have
you.
a good night.
Okay. You too. You too. And community, that was the national president of OIC on a variety of issues, talking about how we get there, how we not we're not going to give up. We're not going to give up when we talk about the Hiawatha Golf Course. The park needs to know that means something. You don't you might want to get rid of it because it brings up your history, but until we get reparations, well, we can we can have the money to put in to say, no, we don't want to do that. But this time they got somebody that said they're going to drain the water out. That was the whole problem with the park. But they need to leave these national places where we have some history at, because they so we can take our kids, so somebody can take their grandkids and then take them over there and say, this is a part, this is where the blacks used to go, like at the Pillars Weekly. This is where they used to stay. This is where they had to stay. They couldn't stay at the hotel. That's African American ADOS history. That's our history. But if you look right now, the development of business, and this ain't nothing against no other community. They the Latino community, the East African community, because they not really nowhere. It's a couple of landlords that own all the property. They just get them in there, and some of them turn the East African community, turn their lights off. They do all kind of stuff to their community, and nobody says something. Nothing. They own they don't own the building. They rent, and so the person getting rich is the landlord. The landlord getting rich over South. Don't nobody. They don't own none of that. They got the business. They own the business, but they don't own the property. They paying rent. We got to get where we own the property and own the business, and that's why the Upper Harbor is one good place to start for the black community. Like Louis King said, on Broadway, it's a place where we can start to develop a business on our own, and don't have to tear. But we got to make sure that people that look like us don't benefit off like the rest of them did. Because you got some activists now they in ownership. They in ownership, and then they saying they helping all the people. Like I said, the economic inclusion with Tawana Black. That's look at the board. Look it up. Look at the board. It's all a majority white board members that put together some and said they're gonna put it together for ADOS people or people of color. They'll start saying people of color, but then when they go in there to get the money, they're going in as you. That's why I say the name, because they're dangerous. They get money and then they do nothing to help our community. That's what it is. And then they go to the legislature because they got that high profile status. Then the governor listened to them, the senators listened to them, and they ain't been on the ground and the places where they talking about getting money to help you get better. They don't even know nothing. They wouldn't be caught dead next to people that they said they fighting for, like a Pastor McAfee, like a Lisa with a Mother's Love, trying to uplift women, uplift the mothers. It took this long for somebody to say, no, let's do a Mother's Love. Now everybody say they want to do something with women, or they all doing it. But Mother's Love started. They cranked it up. Said, no, I'm going after. Lisa said, I'm going after the mothers because that's where the kids go back home to. That's where the kids go back home to. That's what, and that's why she started a Mother's Love. And we're gonna always have haters trying to hate when we trying to do the right thing. And you don't have the money that they got. They, the Office of Economic, they got lobbyists. They got big white lobbyists. They got lobbyist firms, law firms. And that's what they use. They use them big lobbying firms. We don't have that. We over right now trying to lobby for the Rosa Parks African American Youth Development Center over north that can help our kids over there where they in the most trauma at. And we got to fight. We don't have the lobbyists to pay them, and ain't nobody. And that's But Senator Champion is carrying the bill. Esther Gaji on the House side and Fu Lee, they are carrying the bill, and we got to depend on them to get us through because we need this, because we need a safe place for our people to go. And that's why I think AJ Flowers, Miles Wilson, Anthony McMorris, Nicholas Martin, Laziah Smith, all those on the Young People Task Force that's trying to do something because they didn't have to do that. They have kids too. They not all of them, but I know AJ and Mal. They got kids. They got to work. They take care of their family, and then they fighting for you. They fighting for you. Like I do it every day. I do it every day. That's why I'm fighting. I'm talking about Hiawatha. That's why I'm talking about the violence in our community. That's what and people are talking about it and trying to do something about it instead of using our people to lift your profile. Oh man, I probably could have been a national winner if I would have said abolish and dismantle the police, defund the police. If I'd use my black face to say that, and I can guarantee you, if I would have did that, we would have had hundreds more dead. We would have had hundreds more dead. I know what it was. I know what they were doing. I know, and they doing it now. They got 9.2 billion that we got to fight for. But while we fight for it, we looking at our kids, what happened in education. They've been out. That's who I feel sorry for the most, the young kids. What they had to go through the last 2 years. What were they doing? What were they doing? That's why I try to speak the truth. Truth to the people. Truth to the people. Fight this, and we're going to fight them, and we're going to win. We're gonna fight them, and we're going to win. We will win this battle in education. That's why when I talk about education, I'm talking about how do we do it together. I'm not kicking charters. I'm not kicking the union. I'm mad at the union because they got involved with the police stuff because they were radical. Sean and them. Sean, the guy named Sean, he's a little radical Bernie Sanders like guy. Bernie Sanders like guy, and I didn't know he was that bad. Just want to tear something up, but the only one when he tearing it up, he killing us. That's why it was easy for them. That's why it's easy for them. Long as when you say, "Hey man, hold up, don't do that." Why you doing that? Because he didn't understand us. He didn't understand what was going to happen. And then while it was happening, while it was a lot of violence and murder going on in our community, the other criminals they took advantage. They was carjacking, doing everything, and then we had babies carjacking. We had babies 10, 11 years old, can't even see over the steering wheel, but they was getting a car. They was getting a car, and they were doing it. They were just taking cars. Now they got a GPS system where you can tell the police your GPS, and you can locate your car now. So that means a lot of people gonna go to jail. But it was mostly over south where they were doing it uptown. They stole a lot of cars. We got the map and everything. They stole a lot and over there. And then they drive them over north because they figured that's our community. And they said, we'll leave them over here. Now they driving them all over. On 38, but crime is everywhere. And it ain't going to stop until we say, we can't take this. We can't take this. We don't want to see babies dying. We don't want to see people robbing people and then ODing in the midst of their robbery. Why you done beat somebody. And then when you OD, then your partner try to set you on fire. Your partner that you robbing with, this real story. I don't say nothing but real story. The truth. That's what it is. Truth to the people. Let's talk about it. Let's keep doing it. And let's keep trying to work a collaboration. We got to collaborate. Our community must collaborate. I don't care what nobody else do. I don't care if you don't like politics. Politics is crooked. Minneapolis and Minnesota, the most crooked politics that you got because they choose who they want to be in there. They choose when they and that's why when I say something, I talk about every community, including ours. When I'm talking about violence in our community, I'm talking about ours. When I talk about somebody stealing $245 million, talking about feeding our babies, and then it's a white woman, Amy Bach, over top, and then our East African brothers and sisters, whoever it was. No, then they gonna begin while we trying to get ours together. They said no, y'all got to hold up because they just sold all this. And then they put the fine tooth comb on us with our dollars, but they couldn't watch 245 million get out. They couldn't watch it. It was game. It was game, but the game hurt us. The game hurt us. We didn't get fed. I was offered to do that, to work with that program, and I'm glad I didn't, because I'm not a thief. Whatever I do, I try to work. I try to do what I do, and work, do the work, and everybody should get paid. Everybody should get paid. But when you getting paid, when you stealing money and you get or go buy a house and put a basketball court, or you send money back to Kenya and all these other places and take it, you hurt our kids too. Our kids too. The kids are still hungry, Amy Bach, and all those who was associated with it. You know, some the ones that didn't do anything wrong and was feeding people good to you, but I bet you they ain't get the ones that was doing right. I bet you they ain't get I bet you they ain't get 5 or 10 of those million. And we'll find out. We'll find out. We are the one. We are the one. We the one people that we gonna try to do the right thing. Only people we hurt in the ADOS community is us. We killing each other. We what we mad because you have people in there that's continue to do things like they leading us, and they don't care nothing about us. And then you can always give the worst program in the city, the interrupters. Not because of the people that's in it. It's the city doing that, and they know that ain't what's real. Because they told them they couldn't work with law enforcement. What are you gonna do? What you interrupting if you ain't working with law enforcement, working with the community, working with what you gonna do? It's a game they play. It's a game they play, and then they use people like this lady Sasha Cotton from St. Paul, don't know nothing about Minneapolis, and then they put her there because she's a blocker for the institution. She's a blocker for the institution. That's what she does. She's a blocker. And then she get black people where I'm not mad at my brothers and sisters. I'm not mad at no brother and sister. I am an ADOS, African American descendant of slave. Sasha mixed up with a Latino heritage in African American. Jen White mixed up with a white heritage in African American. It's not nothing personal. It's just that's what they can't deal with. They not used to real deep. That's who I am. That's who I am. And that's why I'm going to continue to be like that. We're going to win at the end. We're going to win at the end. I know we're going to win because God got our back. He had our ancestors back, even though they got beat. Like Louis King said, they got beaten, they got destroyed, but they made it through. They made it through. And that's why when you say you're going to close a King Park down, we'll rise up. We might not say nothing till you say it. When you say it, you show you show what you're about, your racism. Let's turn King Park into a dog park. Spike Monk said we're gonna kill all the dogs. Now you said turn Hiawatha into we're gonna make it you making the decision for us. That's what they continue to do. We don't need you to make the decision for us. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it out in public safety, in education, in housing, and business development. We can figure it out. But you know what you got to do? You got to give us some of our money back. You ain't giving us reparation. But the governor, we asking for a youth center. We got to asking for a youth center, and then we'll be meeting. We going to meet with the lieutenant governor's office with Patina over there, and then Indiria who's supposed to be representing us, but we'll see who's representing us. We'll see who represents us because they never have a ADOS person. They all the time before they had the brother from Nigeria or a Liberia, and then they can't represent us. They can't represent us if you ain't gonna say what we say, and you can't be focused on one person or this person over there. You got to listen to our community. You got to listen to our community, and that's why we're gonna fight. We're gonna fight for the Rosa Parks African American Youth Development Center. There's no way that we shouldn't get it. Only way that we don't get it is that the Democrats crack on us and say something different. But we got support from Senator Champion over in the Senate. We got Senator Devil. We got all them. And Tom Bach used to be a Democrat, turned independent. He's the head of the Capital Bondi, and he got a shot at really helping us. And then to say which project you want, why don't you give us all ours one time? Give African Americans all that's really about ADOS people, African Americans. Don't talk about the Office of Economic Inclusion. That's bull. That's bull. That's bull. That's look at the board, and then they got. I know who lobbying for them, but the lobbying firm is a big white law firm lobbying for these people that they know ain't no good. No, they ain't no good. Economic inclusion. Give it to them, but give us what we need. Give it to them. Look these things up. This thing, we can't let it go. If it happened like that, we get what we get, but you're not going to get it, and we ain't going to tell you what they doing. We're not going to tell you, and we working hard. We ain't got the money. They got thousands of dollars. They paying thousands of dollars for somebody to lobby for them. We don't have that. We have to lobby ourselves. And that's exactly what our young people been doing. Thank you, AJ. Thank you, Miles Wilson. Thank you, Anthony McMorris. All of y'all, thank you, Mark Anderson, Pastor Bethel, that's been over to the legislature to lobby for us that we can save our children. That's what we're doing, so we can save our children. And I think I got a minute or two left, and I'm gonna take that minute or two and say thank you for listening. It was we interviewed the president of the National OIC and tried to get something in there. But I want to thank you wherever you watching, whether you're in Arkansas, whether you're in Texas, whether you're in Georgia, whether you're in Kentucky, whether you're in the St. Louis in Missouri, Chicago in Illinois, whether you're in Cleveland in Ohio, Las Vegas, California, wherever you at, particularly here in the great state of Minnesota where we at right now, and wherever you at, whether you're in Rochester, St. Paul, Roseville, Brooklyn Park, Richfield, Bloomington, wherever you at. I ain't got nothing but love. And on April the 12th, we will continue to try to build relationship with law enforcement about having our elders, Coach McKenzie, Pastor McAfee, Lisa of A Mother's Love, and then Booker Hodges, Chief of Bloomington, Inspector Adams, Kia Pettis, all born and raised in Minneapolis. The same way when I talk about AJ and Miles and Nick, I'm proud of where they was born now, because they the one got to fight for their city, and I'm going to fight with them. I'm going to fight for you. We're going to win this war, and thank you wherever you was at for listening to another episode. And don't forget to be at the park at 5 o'clock tomorrow. Just come there and hold a sign and tell them, don't destroy our history. We don't want our history destroyed. We're going to see you next time on another episode. Thank you producing this, Anthony McMorris Rice. Keep doing what you are doing, and I'm going to keep saying what I'm saying. As long as you can set it up, I can speak it, I can bring the truth to the people. Peace.